Carl here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial for sure, and it's 31 days of Halloween. We continue with the looking back at childhood horror films that scarred me as a youngster, films that left an impression and I've taken through to my adult love, and now I'm looking at them again, reliving what kind of affected me as a kid and what I think now as an adult. Hell, if you're watching this one, hopefully you've watched all the ones that have been done throughout this October 2024, so you kind of get the idea now. And we're reaching intriguing territory, as this one I think is a little bit of an unknown. I think those who've seen it know it, certainly might feel as strongly about it as I do. It is, of course, you've seen the title, Ticks. I am a big fan of creature features. You know, nature gone wrong / science gone wrong. You know, the idea that, ooh, this normal everyday thing, it ate or drank some toxic liquid and now it's grown bigger and it's having even bigger babies, and it leads to larger and larger things as people discover the sort of monstrosity, leading to a massive big thing at the end. I thoroughly enjoy this stuff, and that is exactly what Ticks is. It follows the rule book to a literal T, but involving ticks, and I just think this is so much fun. I had such strong memories of this before I rewatched it. Memories based around fun. Not necessarily horror, certainly not less around scares, but around fun, silly, over-the-top behaviour as a film goes. I remembered it strongly for its gore. And I remembered it for one character more than any other, which is the character played by Alfonso Ribeira, who of course most will know as Carlton from The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That's not a big thing, of course, but he's young in this, and basically he's kind of playing like a mouthy gangbanger, for want of a better word. That's literally, he's a caricature of a street smart, young black man. Basically, speaking from the ghetto. That is it. It's literally a caricature of that character. It's offensive to a degree, but also so silly and so much fun. And I don't think he does it bad. It's just hard to take seriously. Now, when I first saw this film, I didn't know that. I did not know who that character was. I don't think I'd watched Fresh Prince back then, so I had no comparisons to go to. So that's something that's come from later in life. I think when I rewatched it many years later, I was like, oh shit, that's Carlton. How is this going to work? Oh, and he's playing a character that's completely different. But you know what? I can live with that because it's fine. It's cheesy as hell. It's very silly. He's not the best at it, but nobody's great in this. It's all a bit silly and over the top. But it's sort of what happens to his character that left its impression. His character goes for a hell of a lot. In fact, his character is involved in one of the most violently gory scenes of all, where it's like his entire head splits apart and a giant tick comes out of his body. Don't ask how that happens or the logistics behind that. It's one of these films and it is so much bloody fun. The effects in this stand up so much. Goopy and gross. The pulsating sort of sacs. The way the sort of ticks run across the ground, even though they look a little bit animatronic-like now. This is just so much fun. You know what? It's bad about what makes it bad though. Weirdly, what doesn't hold up is its story. Its story is really boring, which is a group of kids, young adults, should we say, go to like a camp in the woods, and yep, that's it. Nearby, ticks have gotten into a sort of marijuana, which is being sprayed by a special gas, something like that, and that's caused them to transform, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And bit by bit, we sort of literal bite. We sort of build up to the assault on the few survivors by these ticks, and leading to the big one that comes out of Alfonso Ribeira's character. I can't remember his name. Strange, it's gone from my head. It was quite recent I watched this as well. But there you go. All of this story-wise just isn't that interesting. You've seen it all before, particularly, now, 2024, and going back and looking at this film. It's been done to death, and there's nothing special here, particularly when you consider the characters, who are also pretty boring, to say the least. There's no one here that stands out, no one doing anything particularly memorable. The leads are pretty bland. It all feels like fun, and you're constantly waiting for the next tick-related thing to happen. But thankfully, I feel like the film kind of knows that and makes sure there's always something happening. And they're brave as well. There's a certain level of bravery because, of course, there's the dogs-related stuff, which I think is fantastic. And as I said already, the idea of these ticks getting inside your body and some really... Every gore scene is done up close and quite garish. I think that's really shows a confidence that you've got within your film. I think there's a certain level of glee to what they were doing here. And I think it's evident by, like, the sack that comes and falls down on one character's head. When we see him later on, he's all deformed as the ticks are in his head. Like, how that even happens, I don't know. But, like, it's all so silly and over the top. I think it's sort of... The filmmakers knew it needed to be, because the rest wasn't going to hold up. It's not scary, unless you have a sort of penchant or a fear of the idea of your invasive things getting inside your body, you not being able to do anything about it. It's not, and it didn't scare me as a kid. I was just fascinated by the idea. I never really, thankfully, had much dealings with ticks in real life, so I've got no comparative. Obviously, I know what they are. I know how dangerous they can be for animals and things like that. But I don't really have a lot of comparisons, like, to compare what ticks were, certainly where I lived back in Ireland and things like that. So there was no real life fear to sort of combine the two. I was just fascinated by the imagination with this. It always held a special place in my heart. These films often do, but this one, because it's maybe a little less known, I always feel like it's something I wanted to shout about a little bit louder. We watch it now, I think it's dull for the most part. Dull story-wise and character-wise. But if you want to see some great effects that hold up really well, some good gore, and just some of that gorgeous nature gone, science gone wrong monster movie stuff, this delivers. It is ticks. I'm a big fan of it. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts? You know what to do? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website, where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at gbhbl. Just search for gbhbl and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.